Elizabeth, do you believe in love? Because
No.
I've got something to say about it. Right, that was great. I don't have to sing.
No, that was.
You want me to do it again?
No, that's.
Should I do it again?
No, I don't. I think that was perfect, Adrienne.
Thank
you were
you.
perfect in every single way. You were like Madonna herself.
She knows how to work me. She knows that all I need. I'm like, all right, I'm no longer tired. I'm here.
Oh man. Okay, so let's talk about it. I don't want to talk about love actually because I'm ready to dive into this week's movie starring one of the most iconic figures in American celebrity. By the way, I am Elizabeth.
Oh my God, and I'm Adrienne.
And this is Don't Ruin This For Me, the podcast where we revisit movies from our childhood in hopes that they are great, but they never are.
Some are. We watched Legends of the Fall this season. Don't
Brad
forget about
Pitt.
this.
I feel like Brad Pitt should be our season theme.
Yeah. Yes. Fine. Okay, so this week we watched the 1991, I was 11, documentary, Madonna, Truth or Dare.
I love that you're 11. I think I was 17.
Well, yes, that is our age difference.
Yes.
That is it.
Oh my God.
Madonna, at the peak of her celebrity, she's released the albums Madonna, Like a Virgin, True Blue, Like a Prayer, my favorite, the Pepsi commercial, Burning Cross, Like a Prayer moment. We've seen her in Desperately Seeking Susan, Dick Tracy, and Shanghai Surprise, which I didn't even know what that was, but Elizabeth put it on the script, so it must be real. And it was a movie that earned her a Razzie Award for Worst Actress, apparently.
I mean, she wasn't really great at acting. I'm going to have to be honest about that.
And why does everyone have to be everything?
I think because Madonna set the standard.
Yeah,
she really made things hard for us.
That's true.
And at this point, also Playboy and Penthouse have released nudes of her for when she was like a student who was trying to get money, and I thought that was pretty shady. She's on every like magazine cover and talk show. Every teenager is running to Claire's for their jelly bracelets and lace headbands, while their parents and police are trying to censor Madonna's siren calls. Look away, she's a slut.
She's slutty, slutty, slutty. And, there's not a person on this planet who does not know Madonna's trajectory in pop culture and her influence. Not only was she a revolutionary as a feminist, sexy boss bitch who gets what she wants, she also opened doors for a lot of the LGBTQIA plus community.
You said that so well.
Listen, I love these people. By highlighting the culture and opening doors for folks to take the spotlight. In Truth or Dare, we follow Madonna on her Blonde Ambition tour, where we get to peek into her life as an artist, boss, friend, and family member. I do have to say, as a 43-year-old Adrienne, I was like, oh, shut the fuck up, Madonna. Okay, go ahead. Old Adrienne was like, God, what a twat.
She could be like, she's not the best. Her personality is not sparkling during this film. Even though it feels like a never-ending music video, I have a lot to discuss with you and our guest today, Karen Yates.
Yes.
Karen is an intimacy coach and also works with sound, which I have a lot of questions about. And I thought intimacy, sex, sound, I was like, could we have a more perfect guest?
No,
and I don't think that we could.
not.
We couldn't. She also has a podcast and a live show that I've done called Wild and Sublime. The show is called Super Tasty, the live show, right?
It's called, everything is called Wild and Sublime now.
It is the only show where I got paid and then got additionally paid with a bonus of lube.
Yeah.
Every guest on the show gets a bottle of Uber lube.
Yeah.
Yes, that lube is amazing.
It
by
is
the way.
amazing.
Elizabeth
It's super
talks
good
about
stuff,
the lube
yes.
a lot.
It's just, well, I lube it.
I'm just saying, it's not the first time I've heard the story of Elizabeth being paid in lube.
That is true.
She trots that story out a lot.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
one of my
yeah,
favorites.
yeah.
Anyways, welcome, Karen. We're glad to have you today.
I am so excited to be here.
We
so
love it.
excited.
Yeah, so we'll just go ahead and dive into the recap,
Which is what Madonna sometimes sings songs and sometimes rolls around on her bed. When I read your recap, I was like, Elizabeth is so good because she really watched this movie and made an outline.
Oh
and
yeah, she sent me a text being like, I'm watching the movie tonight, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I am too.
Yeah. And I was like reading your recap and I was like, was this what happened? Like, I mean, I watched the film, but
well, because there's no plot, right?
Right.
It's basically we're following her on tour, and there's some key points.
yes.
Right.
So let's hit them.
Yeah, so a couple of key points is that Madonna is opening the film, talking about how the concert's ending, and one of the things I think she says it's interesting is she's like, I feel sad, and I know that I don't feel sad right now, but I'm going to feel sad. And she's like, and I know that this is going to be the end of it. And she's like, but sometimes things end. I've had this happen with friends. And I was like, that's wild. Just like right off the bat. She's like, everyone hates me, which people I think grow to hate her.
I think pretty much everyone there is humoring her and hates her.
Yes. I mean,
I hated her. I was like, this bitch.
I did not hate her.
I did not hate her.
I did not hate her.
I am glad to have levels in this conversation. 100%. And it's totally possible I was just like in a mood, but I found her somewhat tiresome.
I thought the movie itself, the documentary, was like way too long. We didn't need to see like that much of her life. But
Well, and don't you think too, I think it's possible because I've watched other music documentaries, like this was the first one.
Yeah.
So, I give her all the kudos for that. But because I've seen other ones, like now that they've figured out the form, they figured out how to make a story and have the music in between and whatever. So it's like, this one feels very meandery.
yeah, it doesn't have like a straight trajectory.
Right.
Which, speaking of stories, the one storyline that they do talk about is there is this constant character, Ollie, who keeps coming back in, who's one of her backup dancers. And his whole storyline, because she has this whole thing about like wanting to be everyone's mother and wanting to, that, I know, that made me crazy. But she's like, I want to be everyone's mother.
She's like,
These
I
people
am
are
the mother.
Right. She's like, these people have suffered and they've grown up in their families in bad places and they're poor. Oh my God, Madonna. But Ollie's one of her dancers. And there's a whole thing where he
the only straight dancer.
Yes,
I
the
think
only
we need
straight
to-
dancer.
yes,
It's
this
very
is
important.
Key. This
That's
is key.
Yes. So, and he's super homophobic at this point in his life. And so he's
It's also 1991.
Yes, he's the dancer, and he his dad told him that he should not, pursue the world of dancing. That it was like a complete pipe dream, and then he signs on with Madonna, and so there's this whole sub story about how his dad comes and sees him at the Madonna show, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, your dad is here!" And the one thing I do think that's cool in that part is that his dad had asked for forgiveness from his son for having made a mistake by not believing in his dreams. And I thought that was super sweet.
Yeah, I love
but then
that.
the rest of it falls apart.
Yeah.
Not a lot of super sweet moments afterwards.
No.
Then we see Madonna in backstage with her brother, Christopher. Am I just doing the whole recap? Do you remember?
No, I'm happy for you. I'll jump in. I have two moments that I want to lead.
Okay.
Warren Beatty and Kevin Costner.
Okay.
The rest?
Right. Then I'll do all the rest. So then we have them all backstage, and they're just basically like, here's my brother Christopher. He is now working for me. And we go through a whole celebrities kind of parading backstage.
Coming
at her
to Blonde
concert.
Ambition.
Yes. And we have Mandy Patinkin,
Love him.
which is wild.
Love him.
Which was wild.
Yeah. Olivia Newton-John.
Yes.
Who else did we have? We had Lionel Richie.
Great.
Yes.
And then Adrienne. Who else?
Well, my favorite moment, when I looked up from my computer, was when Kevin Costner rolled in and he's got his Dances with Wolves mullet happen. I mean, it's a Richard Marx mullet.
Yes.
It's full.
And he's got
but,
one of those kind of
straight.
baggy leather jackets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And
That time period.
And you can tell he comes in and he said, well, that was neat. And she goes, neat? And he's like, yeah, that was neat. And she's like, no one's ever said neat to me before. And then he's like, okay, well, I'll see you later. And there's this awkward separation where he leaves. And then she turns around. She's like, neat? Fuck that guy. And is like,
And then does a gag, sticks her finger down her throat like a gag.
Yeah. That I respected.
And at this point she's dating Warren Beatty, right? Because we get a lot of clips of her dating Warren Beatty and gifts that he's giving her. And
Yes.
that is I think the Kevin Costner moment is probably the best moment in the whole movie.
Yes. And then the most iconic or famous, I think, is the moment with Warren Beatty. So she has a doctor looking at her throat because she's maybe shouldn't sing because, she's exerting herself. And he's looking at her throat. And does Warren ask her if she wants on camera? Someone asks.
Yeah, I don't know.
He doesn't ask. Someone else
I
asks.
think the cameraman or director asked.
Right. Yeah. And she says, of course. And he says, well, of course you want it on camera. Why? What is the point of doing anything if it's not being filmed? And then he has this whole soliloquy about, being on camera. And it's the only purpose.
Said the man who has fucked every single actress in Hollywood by that point.
Right. Because he was on camera. So he's a person who understands the power of camera. But I do think in terms of history, and we can talk about this later, it really is a really important moment of a changing culture and what the power of camera and like putting out your story is.
Well, and I think the problem with this documentary is that we don't really get a lot of Madonna's story, right? Like we get kind of like these highlights. So
she's got her fucking dancers showing their dicks and shit, and she's rolling around on a bed. I mean,
yeah. So then like she ends up in Canada, and they're like, everything you do is obscene. We're going to arrest you if you kind of like simulate masturbation. So she goes, of course, because we got to see Madonna as a rebel.
She's an artist,
and so she does a prayer about the freedom of speech, and then she ends up.
I found the prayer moments especially irritating. That was my irritation. That was my big irritation with the prayer circle every concert.
Yeah, I was like, all right, Madonna.
Because it seemed like it was an editorial. It wasn't about prayer. She used these moments to editorialize to the cast.
Yes. I mean, the freedom of speech one is definitely exactly what you're talking about. So she goes out, she like humps a pillow on stage. She doesn't even get arrested, I don't think. Which is
at the end, the police like make this is another moment where I looked up. The police like made a statement that they had seen the show and it was fine.
Right.
So there was no infraction.
In other words, money changed hands.
Right. Yes, exactly. They were done with this.
The Toronto police were like, thank you for that.
But at some point she's in Italy also giving like a speech to the press
because
about
the Vatican.
Her artistic freedom.
Yes. And then she's also goes to Detroit where she reunites with her family because she's from Pontiac, Michigan, I think it is, like right outside of Detroit. So we get introduced to her dad, who, by the way, married the housekeeper after her mother died. I had no idea about that. Yeah, that's so weird. I mean, it's not weird. Because, of course, a man would marry his housekeeper or nanny or whatever.
Well, that's what a man wants, is a housekeeper. What the fuck?
And we see her like interacting with her family, and she talks about how being like rich and famous is like weird because now your family is weird. And then this is a weird scene that I really loved.
Also weird. Yes. I just want to say, I am sure if I got really famous, things could get weird. But like, she's like, a sociopath or a narcissist.
Well, I think she's pretty disassociated from her feelings. Like in the beginning when she's like, I know I'm going to be sad. I'm not sad right now.
Right.
And like there were moments in the show in the movie when she was like basically like she's like, I'm having no feelings. Like,
right. And it's intellectual and cold.
Yeah. I think she's pretty. I think she's had a lot of trauma. She was sexually assaulted.
Mm-hmm. Yes. In New York.
In
right?
New York. Yeah. And her mother died when she was 5. So I think there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
And I think there was more than one person who assaulted her.
Oh yeah, it was a pair of men.
Yeah, a pair of men who like forced her by knife point to perform oral sex on her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, she's that's a pretty open story, but
it's awful.
At this point, then we get introduced to some of their old family friends, which is
this is the weirdest
section of the film.
Yes,
Maureen McFarland is introduced. She's a childhood friend to the Madonna family, and Madonna talks about, and this is a part where like I feel like, to your guys' point, is like, what is the authentic reason for this conversation, except for her to just be scandalized, or try to scandalize people. And she talks about how when she's a young teenager, her and Maureen used to get in bed together naked, and then how Maureen had finger fucked her, and all this story, and then they flash over.
Yeah, go on.
They flash over to Maureen, who now is an adult and like
with
waiting
children.
with children, and she's like, I never fingered Madonna.
No, she says, I don't remember because I've had so many drugs in my life. She was like down and out drug addict and then rehabbed.
Yeah.
And so she kind of played it like, well, I have no memory anyway.
Yeah. But she kind of makes it sound like she didn't do it. And this is like, it's both. Like, she's like, I'm a drug addict, but like, also, I don't think so. And then like,
well, she delivers that awesome line where she's like, I also am a dancer, but I was a stripper.
But then it gets even fucking weirder. So Madonna's like, no, she fingered me. They come back to Madonna. She's like, no, we're naked. We jumped on the bed. She fingered me, whatever. And then it gets to them together backstage. And this chick is like, Madonna, I'm pregnant. And Madonna's like, really? Ew. And she's like, I want you to be a godparent. And then Madonna's like, I'll think about it. But
I do have to say, then then her friend presents her with a picture that she's done because the friend is an
Yes, of a
hobbyist
painter.
artist of
Yes.
like a Madonna and child.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I do have to give Madonna snaps because unlike the Kevin Costner moment where like it's fully filmed that she's gagging after
Right.
Costner leaves and he's an
Right.
asshole, whatever.
Right.
At least she doesn't impugn the friend. Like she comes
Yeah.
backstage with her and shows the picture to someone
Yes.
and she's like, yeah, it's rather good. And it would have been a moment when she could have been like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Right.
fuck Maureen McFarland.
But she didn't. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you're not a complete beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she does say to
But
Maureen,
she did
she's
look
like,
her straight in the eye and go, I'll think about being the godparent to your kid. I'm not committing.
but she also does say like, I love you, Maureen. Like she
Yeah.
does give her a lot of like emotion back in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
scene. Then after this point, I think we go see Madonna. We follow her in the cemetery where her mother is buried.
That was a
that
low
was
moment.
a real weird moment.
I have no memory of this happening.
That was kind of a low moment. for
yeah,
me.
was it hard?
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't hard. It was more like, let's move on a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's like the editing needed to be a little tighter.
Yeah, they literally show her like lay on her mother's tomb. It's like or like
Oh yeah,
headstone.
This
and you're
is
just
wild.
like, what
I
is
have no memory of this happening. I watched this whole movie.
you know, because I don't even think that they fully explain it. They're not like, let's go, Madonna, to the cemetery. You just see her walking through the
Right.
cemetery. And when she puts the flowers down, that's, I think, when you know that. And then she loses her voice and she has to cancel a bunch of shows. And she's like very upset because, you know, she's a mother now. And because when we say mother now,
Of the
to the
dancers.
Of the
dancers,
dancers,
right?
mother of the
of
dancers.
the
Right.
dancers who she's also sort of sexually harassing.
Yes,
and
yes,
like,
completely.
totally.
So she's
Yes.
like, I can't talk to them, so they have to talk through my assistant, and we don't get to have this bonding moment. Well, what happens here is the point with the reason I'm bringing it up is because Ollie is now back in the headlines because he's like, they're saying that Ollie and Madonna are having an affair.
The
and-
Star
Yes.
says this. This is not New York Times.
Right.
Right.
Very good point. So then she's, you know, she tells Ollie that she has forgiven because now she's gotten her voice back. She's like, I forgive you for like if you did anything to like make the story, I just like want to forgive you. And then we go into this whole B plot again about Ollie wanting to, he's like, he cannot stand all the other gay dancers. He's just like, they're just prancing around in their underwear and we're at gay pride. And then he says some very, very homophobic things. And he's basically like, they're trying to make me gay.
Right.
Which, you know, is a very ick moment. And then at that point, everything goes straight into ick because we go to the bed scene. Well, no, we go to the truth or dare scene where she makes one
Where
of her
she's like,
dancers.
show me your dick.
It's purple.
No,
Yeah.
wait a second. There's the scene when Madonna let's circle prayer is like, hey guys, stop, you know, fucking with Allie. Like we need to be a family. Okay, just stop it. Stop it, gay guys. Okay, because we got to put a show on.
We have room for one straight person. Maureen McFarland finger fucked me.
Ollie just can't handle it the way that you gay guys can.
right.
Right.
Well, and then the next thing that we get is like Madonna's done this, and we get one of her hairstylist comes in.
I wanna talk about
is
this.
Super wild.
This to me was the most awful moment in the whole damn
I
movie.
100% agree. So I'd love to talk about it. But so basically, her hairstylist is late, and she's talking to one of the dancers, and she's like, "Oh, Sharon's late," and he's like, "Well." She claims that she's woke up late because she was drugged and then
At a bar.
at a bar, then woke up bleeding from her butt. And Madonna's reaction isn't like, what are you talking
Right.
about?
Yes.
She puts her hands over her face and starts giggling.
Starts laughing. Yeah.
And I was,
Disassociation much?
oh my God.
Yeah.
I was so
Yeah.
grossed out at that moment.
Yeah.
And then you see Sharon recounting the night.
Yeah, and she was drugged at a bar, and someone I don't know if it was Madonna or one of Madonna's henchmen says, well, it's because she told them she was part of Madonna's entourage, and that's why they targeted her.
Yes.
Like
that
that was the reason. Like and screw her for telling them she was part of the Madonna entourage. It was sort of this like she deserves everything she got.
Madonna. It was Madonna.
That
who-
was very 1991 attitude.
100%.
Any-
Yeah.
It was Madonna who says it because I remember thinking because Adrienne had texted me and was like, she's kind of narcissistic or not kind of, you said she was.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a great example of her narcissism is like she says that her hairstylist was basically raped by these people because she was connected to the Madonna. And so gross.
And you know what upset me? about that scene obviously the reception, then the hairstylist shows up and she looks like a deer in the headlights. She looks like someone who has, just experienced assault. And here was this moment when Madonna, who basically is an influencer the only influencer on the planet, like the uber influencer in every city she goes to, she could have put heat on like the sex crimes unit of the local police wherever they were. I think it was New York City. But nothing. Nothing.
And this girl's like back at work.
Back at work.
Like, what the fuck?
Yes. And so then like after this terrible thing happens, we're back to like Madonna's regular celebrity life. We get introduced to Sandra Bernhard. We watch Madonna basically sexual harass Antonio Banderas.
Oh my God.
Elizabeth texts me, what happened to Sandra Bernhard? And I was like, I think she got tired, just like all the rest of us. She took a seat.
She's like, I'm done. I'm done living this life. And I do like this scene with Antonio Banderas, though, because she's like, will you call me? Madonna's asking him. And he's like, yes, Madonna, I will call you. But whatever his accent is.
I really do need to set that up, because what blew me away is like, Sandra Bernhard was like, so Madonna, who do you want to meet? Like because Warren Beatty was now out of the picture.
Yes,
he
correct.
left. And she's like, well, what man do you want to meet? And like Madonna's like, And I'm like, holy shit. Madonna has the ability. She is that famous and that hot at that moment to summon any man on the planet.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, if I had that magic power, who would I summon?
Wait, who are you summoning?
I was going to ask you the
to?
same question.
I didn't really come to anybody. I mean, I'm like, Brad Pitt 10 years ago.
Adrienne's like, we got fighting words.
Oh my God.
Brad Pitt for now and forever. Though obviously once he arrives, it's going to be a big fucking disappointment. So I get it. You know what? I revise. I'm picking Stanley Tucci.
What?
That's a fucking safe choice. He's going to make me a cocktail. He's a nice person. We can have nice, sweet sex. He's not going to disappoint me.
Yeah.
Stanley Tucci.
He's going to be a sweet guy.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Great guy. Yeah. Karen doesn't look convinced. She's clearly not following Stanley Tucci on Instagram. I will help her with that. Yes. Wait, who are you summoning?
You know the answer. It's going to be Tommy Lee.
Oh,
100%.
my God. What have you learned? Nothing from this podcast.
Absolutely nothing.
We started episode 1 with Tommy Lee, and clearly a glutton for punishment.
I know. Well,
or are you just thinking about that big D?
It's the big D. It's the big D. And
right.
like that,
Fair
he's kind of like rock and roll. I feel like, my biggest crush lately has been Pedro Pascal, but he's too good. He's like too good guy.
He would be a nice guy to you, and he's, he looks pretty dirty to me most of the time.
But I think
you mean hygienically?
Yeah, I mean,
like he doesn't shower very often.
Brush his hair.
Yeah.
That's her vibe.
Yes.
That's fucking her vibe. So listen, I think, you know what? I want you to think about this. We can come back to it later in the show, that like a growth moment for you might be choosing the dirty guy who might also be a decent person.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mean Pedro?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Like, yeah, I just like gave you a Midwestern yes, no. I'm like, yeah, no. It's, like,
it's still
going to be Tommy Lee.
Karen looks really like,
I'm just stunned. I'm just stunned.
Karen's like, we've got so much to talk about. This is what I'm telling you.
Yes, so then wrap up the fucking movie.
Then Antonio Banderas basically ghosts Madonna, and Madonna's super pissed. I loved it.
It's because he's married, basically.
Yes. Was he married then to
Yes,
Melanie?
the wife was just kept looking
She was
there watching, but she was like chill. Mm-hmm. Because they're Spanish, they kept going like, "Oh, he's Spanish."
They're just Spanish.
They're Spanish.
They don't care to have like a great relationship. I don't know what that meant anyway.
Yeah.
And the truth or dare moment, I did think it was interesting because we did Pam and Tommy at the beginning of the season. One of the dancers asked Madonna about love, and she's like, "Sean was my greatest love." Mm-hmm. And I do feel like a little sadness about people who are in. Who have that kind of longing even after you've left someone and you're like, that person's a shit person, but I still love them.
But bear in mind, this was only, I think, a couple of years after.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and Sean Penn's also a total maniac. So
that's why they broke up
together.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then we get this like weird voiceover where we watch Madonna like working. She's like on the phone and she's like rustling some papers.
A corded phone.
Yeah.
Remember, no cell phones back then, folks. And I was like, wow, she's on a fucking
Yeah.
corded phone.
And they're doing this whole voiceover about like Madonna is just a real big boss. Madonna is, she wants people to think that she's hard, but she's not hard. So there's like these weird voiceovers about who she is. And then she has this whole conversation about like, I can't believe this is my life. Sometimes I feel like an imposter. That's an important theme, I think, in the show. But I was also like, shut up, Madonna. You're Madonna. Like,
she is an imposter. I mean, the entire thing, like, I don't want to take everything back to the Enneagram, but I mean, to me, like, I'm like, she's probably.
Do you know what the Enneagram is?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know what my number is, though.
Oh, well, you know what? Come back next week. To me, she's probably a 3, and like this is all, it's all about image and artifice and like performing a personality versus like being really connected to like who you are. So I'm like, yeah, girl. It is.
She's so rough.
Yeah.
And then we ended the film with her doing the last song, which is Keep It Together, which is all about family. And she's in bed with her dancers and telling them to take off their clothes and like to do some weird shit, kissing them and whatever.
Punching them.
Yes, definitely sexually harassing them.
Yes.
I mean, I think this is not a cool moment.
Yeah.
It feels very icky. And I think back then it must have felt like very revolutionary, which is odd. But we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
And she just talks about like how important it is to like choose your family, and that family should always, your family and friends are the same. Which I was like, but it's not true. Like, it's not true in her case. She is using these people for these. Well, she is. She's using these people for like this dancing moment. They're like, they have a work relationship, not a family relationship. Which brings us to all the things that Gen Z say, which is like they hate when you're at an office and someone's like, we're family.
Oh, that is such a bunch of shit. One of the most important things my dad ever told me, like years ago, like in the 90s, was your coworkers are not your family, and that was like. Thank you, Dad.
Yeah.
You're so right.
It is true. It is true. I'm glad that my coworkers are not my family because I don't like one of them.
I'm
and I only
friends
have
with
2.
all my coworkers from like all my jobs. So shout out everybody.
All right, well, let's get to the meat of it then. Let's start with work. Actually,
Karen, where do you want to start?
I want to offer a complete counter narrative to
good.
what has been put out.
I love it.
I watched this film and truth or dare, I didn't see it at the time.
Oh.
What I saw was another movie that gets trotted out a lot when Truth or Dare is being mentioned, which is Paris is Burning.
I love Paris is
Burning is like
so good.
Oh my God. I saw it and my life was changed. It's one of the few movies that like changed my life. Star Wars being another one. But just to put that out there, but no, really, it changed my life. But the counter narrative I want to offer is that, I was looking at this movie thinking it was going to be super dated, and I was really pleasantly surprised to see it is not dated one effing iota. And it's not dated in my mind because here's Madonna. Like, I remember when it came out, everyone was like, oh my God, Madonna's such a bitch. She is such a bitch in this movie. Oh, you're just going to be repulsed and la la la. That was what was going on at the time. And I watched it and I'm like, yeah, she's a boss bitch. But if there was a dude in this position, they'd be like, business as usual. Here's this
no one
guy.
would question it.
And I feel like she offered up something to women at the time, cis women, of like, if you want to be head of an operation, not to like condone being an asshole, because there's many times when she is an asshole, but this idea of playing nice or being nice, being sweet, being kind, like she didn't have time for that. Like
right.
she was 32 years old. She was managing this like burgeoning fucking empire.
Yeah.
It's an empire. She's worth $550 million right now. I checked that out. But this was like her moment of explosion out into the like stratosphere,
Sure.
right? And I just watched her, and yes, you can say she was narcissistic, and yes, you can say there was sexual harassment, and certainly there was, and certainly she's completely disassociated, and certainly she's a control freak, and all of these things. But I was just watching her, being like, wow. She's like making it happen for herself, and yes, she is. Yes, she's completely performing, because her offstage sexual harassment stuff, it's not like she's intrinsically a sexy person. Like she doesn't.
Oh, really? You don't think so?
I don't know. I don't know about that. It's not like she's sensual. She doesn't strike me as a person in her body.
Yeah, well, I would say that.
You know, she's not. She's like,
it seems very performative.
It's totally performative.
Right.
But she brought to the world this idea of like shame-free sexuality. She was the
yes.
You know, and I'm like, okay, snaps to you. That bed scene, the masturbation scene was like, you know, still to this day, I think it's important that was a part. Like now it's nothing, right? Now it's like everyone kind of does that kind of stuff. But at the time it was like, okay, she's
For
doing,
sure.
you know, and I think that is like, that's what she brings to the table here.
So I have two things. One, I want to say I agree with you about her being a boss bitch and like trying to like show this thing, and like men, if it was a man, no one would question it. But I also think that a man wouldn't be like, I'm the father to all these dancers.
No,
which
God,
I think
no.
I think that's the part that gets like, yeah, what's happening like here, like that part of it.
Yeah, that's.
Although I do think that men would be like, we are family here at this business. But
we're a team. Dear God, we're a team. So don't you fuck around tonight on stage.
But I would say like so far as sexuality and like women like being half clothed now, or like that they're like, I like having sex. There seems to be like a very big difference between how they do it now and what Madonna did. Like, because I think what Madonna was doing was like, I'm putting out a statement by doing these things, where I think women now, when we talk about these things, we're like, it feels more authentic, I guess I would say.
Oh,
you know,
is nuance.
Yes, like there's like a weird thing, because to your point is she's setting us all up to like feel okay about these things. And so when people are feeling like, we as women, as we grow and we're changing and we're feeling more and more comfortable about our bodies and comfortable about saying like we like sex, or like saying like I'm not afraid to give head, then the image is different, like on social media, you know, which we talked about with Warren Beatty about what goes on tape and what doesn't go on tape. But yeah, it's an interesting growth to watch. I guess I would say it's like been interesting to watch it.
I also think though that a lot of it is about being provocative and being a business person.
Right.
You know what I
mean?
mean?
She goes, I love that moment in the movie when she says to, I don't know if it was one of her backup singers, I know I don't have the best voice. I know I don't write the best songs, but I'm here to be provocative.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, there's some truth.
Right. Like she knows what sells and what she can do. So I agree that like what she's doing sexually or saying sexually or wearing, you know, her clothes, like it feels disconnected from probably what her actual like sexual being is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like for sure. I mean, obviously, we can all agree that she like blasted open the door for everybody else. Lady Gaga,
Right.
Katy Perry,
Kim
Taylor
Kardashian.
Swift. Yeah, I mean, like everybody that came after and built careers that were about who they were or their image was, you know, Madonna did it first.
And Elizabeth, I love what you said about like it was a statement. There was nothing new. Like this was really so new. There was nothing nuanced about the statement. It was kind of a black and white, like this is it.
Yeah.
Like sexuality or bust. Like be hot or, you know, be provocative or forget it.
Yeah, I think I mean, this is one of the things I wanted to discuss as a theme is I kept watching it and thinking, would the Madonna today, knowing everything that she knows and having grown as she has grown, would she still have done the same things? Would it still have been like as like fierce and fiery?
I don't think we can trust the Madonna of today.
I don't know. She said
She's got Britney Spears. She's got Britney Spears.
She said something like I was reading in Wikipedia, my go-to for all news sources. She said she like she was saying to GLAAD, she was at a GLAAD event. Like I really regret some of the things that happened in that movie. Like, and I can't even remember what she was.
Well,
regretting.
she got sued by a number of the dancers.
Yeah,
because
for what?
Well, because they asked her not to put certain things in the film. She put them in the film. They asked her. Some of them thought like that she painted them to be like really, really crappy. I think Ollie's one of them. And he's like, you know, we were young, we changed, things like change, and now I have this like permanent record of me being a dick.
Right, because it was the beginning of reality TV. Like they didn't have the right contracts yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think about that too. Like I think, you know, your sexuality when you're 20, 25 or whatever age she is at this point is a lot different as we age. And Karen, you know, you work with people about intimacy and sexuality. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like how it changes as we get older, how it shifts?
Well, I think as you get older, you start seeing where there are your desires change, your intentions change, and you know, folks obviously let I'm speaking so broadly right now, but like when
you can get specific. We're interested in your story.
Well, when you're young, there's like general horniness will get you through, right? And then as you get older, it's like, wow, there's issues. I have issues. I have issues relating, or I have issues in bed that I haven't been addressing, and a lot of it, it comes back to family of origin. It comes back to trauma. It comes back to what society has heaped on our heads around shame, around sexuality, and it's like undoing these knots. It takes time. It takes really getting in touch with yourself. I mean, this sounds so, I don't know, typical, but it's true. Like really getting in touch with your body and what does your body want and need. It's not like, so I was really tracking Madonna, like her real disconnection from things. That really struck me. I'm like, well, she has, one of her brothers is an addict. Her mother died at 5 years old. I'm like, she was sexually assaulted. Like all of this makes sense to me. Like I was tracking. I'm like, yeah, the way she acts totally made sense to me.
Yeah.
Not that if those things happen to you, you're going to be a Madonna. But but it just kind of that really wanting to be really in control.
Mm-hmm. I found that, yes, I agree with you on all of those points. I found when I was thinking about it and reflecting in it is, when I was younger and I was chasing after boys and girls and like wanting to have sex, a lot of it for me was like about proving things to myself.
Yeah.
Proving to myself that I could be wanted, or proving to myself that I could be good at this thing that no one taught me about, proving to myself that somehow someone saw me. And it was one of the biggest lessons I walked away with when my kids started to talk about sex, because I said to them, women should have pleasure. It's great. The one thing I ask you not to do is to have sex with people in order to prove a point to yourself or to justify your existence, which is the way that I really definitely saw sex as like a young person. And when I'm watching Madonna do this, I kept thinking to myself, this is exactly like how I would fuck. It would just be like this rampant, like, rah! Like there was just like, give me this and I'm going to put this in my mouth and I'll let you put this in my body. But like, it was never like, it's not like I have the way that I want to approach or look at sex currently,
right? Yeah.
Which is completely different, which is like, I need to feel connected. I need to feel safe. I need to feel desired in a way that isn't just physical.
Well, when we're young, we really don't know what our nervous systems need, and it's like a lot about like our nervous system in real time in bed. And, it's just too adrenalized at that point when we're young, right? Or we're shut down, or there's just so much going on. There's so much going on. And it's like, as you get older, like things start coming in of like, maybe there's a different way to do this. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adrienne, you're quiet over there.
Well, I'm just taking it in. I'm thinking a lot, and I'm wondering about, like who Karen works with, like how many, like do men come to you and say like, I tried to sleep with Adrienne and I was like trying to spank her and choke her. And she was like, why are you doing this? We're 43 years old. Like, where did you get this idea? And do they come to you? Do they try to work it out? Like how they could be better at it?
Well, I work mostly with couples, but I will say that.
Right. Because the women are like, why is he trying to choke me? And
I think the choking phenomenon, it's really, I'm glad you brought up the choking phenomenon.
Right, it's
because
a porn thing.
It is, because like I remember, like I was married for 20 years and I got divorced like 8 years ago. And like when I was dating guys before my marriage, like it was sort of like we're having sex.
Right.
I was not a kinkster, before I got married. And so it was just like, typical vanilla sex. And then suddenly I got back out into the dating field 20 years later. And
Karen, we're sisters.
everyone,
this is my experience.
Everyone wanted to choke me without consent.
Or fucking spooge on your face or in your hair.
Yeah, there was a whole different dynamic going on. It was very interesting to me. And I was like, why are you choking me? Why do you think I like this?
I told Elizabeth I had better sex when I was 16 years old than men offer me at 43. Literally.
This is consistent.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a true message.
I mean, I I run in consent, more consent circles now, where people are really checking in with each other, so that really doesn't happen. But it was startling. It was startling to me. What was startling is like, why do you think I would enjoy this? And then maybe the answer is, who gives a shit if you enjoy it?
That's ding, ding, ding.
Man,
ding, ding,
that's
ding.
rough. Yeah.
I mean, that's my general experience of sex in my like late 30s and 40s. Is that I feel that they are not necessarily able to care if you enjoy it because they are so disconnected, or there's something, they're not socialized to care. Like if they care about you, so, to any of the actual boyfriends I have, like shout out, you're fine. But like, random people, like they if they're not caring about you as a person, which I think men have a hard time doing, like, okay, I'm going to back up. So one of my friends is suddenly dating women. I'm watching her do this, and it is a smorgasbord of delights. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, she's been out with like 6 women, all of which she would see again. Like, just the options seem endless. And one thing I've really noticed is they both seem to arrive at a date with this sort of understanding that, like, at the very least, we could be friends, right? Like, they both roll in, like, you're a person, I'm a person, like, let's talk. Maybe we could be friends. Maybe we're going to fuck, right? That is not how I experience dating men at all. Like, it's all about, like, do they want to fuck me? Like, oh, when are they going to show me a picture of their dick? Like, what's going to happen? We go on a date. There's no really like basis of just like being respectful of me, like, as a person, which is why I don't
even setting
date
up your
much.
dates, right? Like, even setting up her dates are always like this long process of getting to a date, to figure out a date and a time and a place. It's just like, and then they like act like assholes.
Right. So if somebody treats me like I would treat my friend, they're like, oh my God, like, oh, he's fucking great. Like, like, it's wild to me. Like the sort of base is so low. Like, you were respectful of me. Like, yes.
Well, I think for me, it's like how raising the base, it's like, it's like really putting out, this is where I'm starting. This is my start point, which is I don't even know if I want to date you. I haven't even decided yet if I am going to date you, right? And I would prefer some sort of friendship developing before we go on a date. Like, that's where I am right now. I wasn't there. Like, I was like in a major fuck fest for years, and it was great.
I love this for you.
It was
Wait, it was great with men?
Yeah, it was.
Karen, can you tell me what to do?
I've had very little bad sex.
Karen, I mean, listen, I would love to have good sex. I'm being serious. I would love for you to give me a step-by-step instruction of like how to leave this studio and like start enacting this in my life. I will say, my friend who's dating women, one of the women gave her like a questionnaire about like what sort of like sexual stuff she was into and like yada yada.
Yeah.
And my
the yes no maybe list.
Yeah, my
yes,
friend
no maybe list. I don't even tell us more about it.
The yes no maybe list sort of comes out of the kink community. You can get them at like they exist like at the Pleasure Chest, but you can also get them online, and they are basically
it's a whole new world for me.
Of course, it's on the internet, Elizabeth.
It's basically a checklist that and typically I don't even know if folks that are like hooking up use it, but when you're starting to get to know someone, maybe had sex a couple times, it's like, what sort of things do you want to do in bed? What's a yes? Like, oh, I want to have, handcuffs, or I want to be restrained, or yes, I want to spank. I like spanking. Giving, receiving. Like, those are two, like, it's like giving, receiving. I want to do this, give or receive. Then the maybe is like, I might be able to, let's talk about this. And then hard no's, like, no, needle play. No.
No, come in my hair.
Don't come in my hair.
No.
Okay, that's like, don't come in. And like, I think there's rooms you could like, next to the box, you could be like, not in hair.
Right.
Boobs, okay.
Yes, Karen, I am fine with that. Yes. And my friend Jeremy and I were laughing about this. Yeah.
Is it called frottage? Yeah.
We were laughing about this because we're doing a storytelling show. Elizabeth's going to be in it too. It's in a couple weeks. And we were talking about what I should write. He was like, you should write a questionnaire for straight men to fuck you. Like, what? Like, what's on it? Because it's so impossible.
Yes.
Like, more a humorous yes, no, maybe. Like, I don't know. Would you text me if I texted you? Yes, no, maybe.
But I mean, these are the things that need to be front loaded.
Yeah.
Front loaded, like I'm just here right now to tell you that Jeremy, I'm just going to pull the name
Yeah,
Jeremy
do it.
out of my ass.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Jeremy,
Owens.
look, here's the thing. Like, if I just want to let you know that, like, if we're going to fuck tonight, I really would appreciate a text tomorrow morning or when you get home.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's really important to me. It makes me
Right.
feel, like, safe, like, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, 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 blah.
Do you find that men respond well to that?
Yeah, but it's I haven't been in a situation where that doesn't happen typically. I can only think of one partner who just regularly did not do that. And
Wait, where are you meeting men, Karen? I'm serious.
You're not like into the fuck fest world. You're
it's
I
a
don't know that I'm
magical
not.
place.
Really?
Like polyamory events and like sex positive events. I really don't like the dating apps.
No, they're terrible.
It's really awful because you can really get more of a sense with someone when you just see them and just start. So I'm kind of app negative. I'm app negative.
So you like to roll into an event and see who you might want to fuck.
Yeah.
You get a temperature right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
It's very efficient.
I was gonna say, I think the one difference between like the polyamory or sex positive world versus like regular like dating life, of course I haven't been dating in a long time, but I would say is that when you walk into those events, you're already making a statement. Right, you're making a statement that that you're open to a lot of things, that you're willing to be vulnerable to a certain point. I don't. Is that the experience? That you get?
And I mean, it's like not like I'm not rolling into the events to be like for a quick pickup. Like it's really like let's just see who's here. Let's just have a conversation and like. But you're right. I would say there's more of an agreed upon base of like. It's not 100% though.
Of course.
There's assholes everywhere, right?
That's absolutely true.
But like it is, yeah. I think there is more agreement about like what good sex constitutes. It constitutes checking in with someone and
Right. Or both people having a good time.
yeah.
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 I also think that there's a lot more communication that happens in the world of polyamory in terms of like, in a ideal situation, people are having conversations about how much what people want and what people are willing to do, but also on top of that, just being like, is this okay with you? Are you okay with this? Does this make you comfortable? Are we both comfortable? Should we all talk to each other? That's like that's very hard. I think I'm in a straight relationship basically, and it is like sometimes trying to get my husband to tell me anything, even sexually, makes me like want to rip his face off. It's like he's just so like what would you say? I think like he's just like not been told that he can talk about these things in the way that I think I feel I can.
Yeah, it's about like sometimes I think people feel like they need to be given permission. And that comes back to I was trained more in somatic methods, and the somatic method is you're checking in with your body and your bodily impulses at the most basic level, because they can surprise you, because we get what gets layered on and it kind of cuts us off is what society expects. Vis-a-vis like religious expectations, which are woven into society, whether or not you even grew up religiously. There's like morality, there's shame, there's like so much. And so people are just completely cut off from, these natural impulses in their body. Say if I was with the two of you in bed, right?
Oh,
hello.
I didn't know
so
this
glad. I'm so glad we invited Karen to the show.
I did not know this was an option.
We have some time.
Let's move this table out of the way. No, wait, we've got a table. Oh my God, we got a table.
Cameras.
We have cameras.
But like we would discuss like before we like jumped into bed, like what are we thinking here? And then we would. You're smiling. I think you like this.
Well, no, I'm just thinking like I'm trying to think. My last partner, there was a lot of discussion. I didn't hate it. It was great, but I'm trying to think if in my like overall life there's been a lot of discussion before sex, and probably not.
But if you're in the moment, like right, and like let's say I really did have an impulse to like spank you, like I was like, oh, I really want to spank her ass.
Oh my God, she just got like really sexy.
I know, Karen's very sexy.
Wow, Christine, turn down the heat. It's hot here.
Sexier than Madonna. She seems to be in her body.
What is happening? Am I starting my hot flashes now?
But I would say, Adrienne, I really want to. I really want to spank you on your ass.
If you
What do
said it
think?
in that way, I mean, she's this huge smile on her
Yes, it
face.
was great.
She seems really enthusiastic about it. I'd be like, dude, yeah, all right.
But let's get back to the
yeah.
choking.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's get,
Yeah, yes,
So
let's.
let's talk about the choking.
Yeah.
Like, you can front load that, Adrienne. You can say before you get into bed with someone, I got a couple of bottom lines and I just have to lay them out to you.
Yeah.
One, no pain. I am not into pain. Some people are totally not into pain. I am not into pain, and I got to be really clear: no choking, 100%. That is my hard bottom line.
Yeah.
And that's really good.
Yeah.
That doesn't take a lot, right? But let's say we were in bed, and you hadn't stated that. You know, like, wow, Adrienne, I want to put my hands around your neck. How do you feel about that?
I'd be like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Okay.
I think it would be more of a turn off.
That's a hard corner to turn in the middle of the bedroom.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's.
Yeah, I would definitely not say that. I'm from the Midwest. I'm a nice person. I would be like, maybe not. You know,
You'd be like, yeah, no.
in my head, I'd be like already texting Elizabeth, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
But then what would you do if the guy's like, okay, fair enough, and then like went on and then pleasured you in another way?
I don't know.
Maybe
Karen, I
then
have
check
not
in
met
after.
these
Check in
men.
after the event, after the sex.
I have not met a man who can take a redirection and recover. You know what I mean? Honestly, in a way that's like, you know. I mean, listen, you know, I'm raising my kid is about to turn 14, and you know, I think he found porn. Elizabeth, was he like 8, 9?
He was young, yeah.
Or, I mean,
it was just him. Like he was just being like a kid. Like he went through the internet and he
right.
found
This
it.
is like not shocking. I'm not upset about that. But like I sat him down and I talked to him. I was like, look, like here's the reason I don't want you engaging with this. Because like in reality, like when you do start like having these experiences, you don't want them informed by something that's like totally like not real and like doesn't really show how any of this actually is and like what people actually want to do. And like you want to be able to like explore in a consensual way that's like, you know, I mean, I read Judy Blume's Forever. This was my introduction to sex. And to be real, the sex I had from like 16, 17, 18 was that sort of like sweet, like, you know, two people discovering stuff, sex. And that is definitely the journey I would prefer for him than like him learning like, oh, I watch these videos and these girls seem to really love it when they're being choked and like fucking spooged on and like whatever.
And there is stuff like, there is porn literacy that parents can find. Like I will just say, if there's any parents listening, like there is stuff called, you know, if you search porn literacy, you will find things like how to talk to your kids about porn.
I also think that one thing, I know that you're saying this thing about like choking, but like one of the things that we are talking about for you also is like what we were discussing earlier about like what creates that kind of intimacy. And part of what you've always said is like you could be on board on something as long as you feel really, really safe with a person.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, and I think that that's the hard place to get to because I don't think that most people, even women, have been taught that it's okay to ask for consent from the person, that we can talk to our partners. I mean, we went to Scotland based on Outlander.
That's true. I don't know where she's going with this, but that is a factual statement.
We did it because we were all, her and I, and we were like all watching Outlander. And the thing that we all kept coming back to was like this Jamie, who's like the main character in
Do you
Outlander.
watch this show?
No.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Well, she's
It's
she's
so
going to
good.
set it up then.
Yeah, so he's a Scottish guy, and he has this woman who comes back
It's
from
back
the
in the day
future.
during the
it's just like-
Jacobites.
yes.
He's in a kilt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's in a kilt. He's always carrying like, you know, he's fist fighting people or whatever.
Yeah. He's got
But
a sword.
Jamie has a lover. Her name's Claire. And every time he touches her, he asks for her permission.
No, and also
You
she
know?
teaches him how to fuck. He's
Yes.
never fucked. And she's
Yes.
like older.
Yes. And it's super hot. Like if any guys are listening to this show, it is super hot
Yes.
when you come in and you're like, can I kiss you?
Oh,
It's super hot
yes.
when you're
Oh my
like,
gosh.
can I go down on you? Like
Consensual.
all of this is like
Consensual makeout is
Yeah.
effing believable.
yes. And in Outlander, not only is Jamie super fucking hot,
Yeah.
he is like the greatest gentleman who ever
Yes.
existed.
Yes.
Because his whole thing is just like, Claire,
Yeah.
may I kiss you?
But But she teaches him all the things to do,
Yeah,
which
well,
is also very happy because, right, it's flipped. Like all the media that we see about sex is about like, men doing X, Y, and Z. And like this is definitely from like a female focus where.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And
that's why we love it.
There must have been a female writer.
Yeah.
On
There
the
was
show.
there's
It was a
it's all
romance
female,
writer,
a female
yeah.
writer and a female director for the show, and even like at some point Jamie and Claire have to get married. I forget why, but anyways, it's their wedding day, and he's just like he's like waiting to like for her to make the move for them to have sex for the first time, and then that's like her first teaching moment.
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm like getting pink in the face.
It
I'm
is
just like,
very
oh,
hot.
it's so sexy.
They're in their bodies for sure.
So when you're working with couples, do you find certain themes that come up again and again? I mean, you don't have to get specific, obviously, for the sake of your couples, but
I would say the biggest theme is there is stuff going on in each person's head that is not coming out of their mouths. That there's like a whole like world inside someone's head when they're in bed with someone, and it's a lot of shoulds and I shouldn't, or I want to do this, I'm not. It's like squelching impulses, or it's like really not knowing. It's like I see with a lot of cis men, there's like the playbook in the head, like there's a standard playbook, and
a good man immediately eats you out. This is the other playbook. They're like, I would get this out of the way. Yeah.
right. Like there's just a playbook, and that's fine, but like that, if the playbook is too like tattooed into your brain, like it's like you can't really work around the playbook. Like there's not a lot of impulsivity, and there's a lot of goals. It's a lot about goals. The goals are orgasm. The goal is orgasm or bust. Or the goal is, if you're dealing with a heterosexual couple, penis in vagina sex.
Right.
Goal. And so to really kind of work with folks of like, hey, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. And it's like about, really helping folks communicate more, like, and really break it down of like, what do I really want to do right now? And what am I willing to receive right now? These dynamics of, why am I doing this? Why am I touching this person? Is it for me or is it for the other person? A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know why, it's like really breaking it down into the most basic things.
I have a personal story because I've been sexually assaulted by an intimate partner, and after that, like having orgasms aren't easy for me, right? Like I can't have orgasms without like the help of an aide. And one of the things that I found that was like a lot of my lovers would really focus on trying to make me come, because it was a goal for them, but not only a goal for them, but they felt like if I didn't, then we would be in the situation where they have failed me in somehow.
Yeah.
And what I don't think that they understood was like, if they would just calm down and it's like kind of let me be led by to Adrienne's thing is like to feel safe, to feel comforted, to feel like this is a place that I belong. And then it's like you can't really necessarily, or you wouldn't necessarily want to explain it to someone who's like a one night stand. You don't need to, like, I didn't want to go like, oh yeah, so I had this, like, I don't even know that I realized that that was an issue for me until later in life, until like much after it had happened, that it was like just something that wasn't gonna be that easy. And having to expose yourself with this emotional I guess not emotional baggage, but to your point earlier, it's like this trauma. You just don't want to necessarily, if you're fucking 3 people, you don't necessarily want to be like, hey, by the way.
No, I understand what you're saying. Like, I definitely have had hookup sex where it's like, yeah, oh God, let's just finish this thing off. Let's just move on. This was great for like one night, but like, or 1 hour, 30 minutes. I will retract that. Like it's not all of the sex I've had has been awesome, but like,
thank God.
But like, there is these moments. Yeah, to your point, like Elizabeth, like yeah, it's like, do I really want to get into it right now?
Right.
No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'll try to be here as much as possible and talk about what I want, but like,
Yeah, and you can have so much fun without actually having an orgasm.
Yeah.
And I have felt very satisfied with a lot of my sexual experiences where I haven't had orgasms. And I think it's like, I think it's because it's like I really do have fun with what we're doing.
It's adult
Oh,
play.
I guess this is, to your point about impulsivity. Because when you mentioned impulsivity, I was thinking like, why is that important? And now that I'm talking about that, now I get it. Like that I like the way someone feels, or I like the way someone looks at me, or like that there's this kind of joy between the two of us. And that's enough a lot of times for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
How do couples come to you? Like, who is like
Sometimes I'll get recommendations from talk therapists because
like people who want to stay married, but this is like a big issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because couples like therapists, like talk therapists can only go so far with some things, but like we'll have like a gym mat on the floor and I'll like walk people through exercises. I mean, it's like fully clothed, but it's more like touch base, like communication, like how, like, are you really there? Like, what's going on inside right now?
It seems like you would have to be people who are really invested in your relationship to be vulnerable in that way, to be like, we're not doing this right, and like we want to learn.
Yeah, I mean, most of the people who come to me are invested. There's very few people that like you can tell like, ooh, this is the last gasp. That's a rarity. It's more like people who are invested and want to just do something different for sure.
How'd you get into this work?
I trained in Tantra after so I had a long career.
A little sting moment.
I had a long career.
Famous.
I had a long career in performance as an actor and a director, and then I got divorced, so I went through this whole sexual exploration, and it led me to Tantra, and so I got certified in Tantra, and Tantra is amazing, and it's it's working with energy. Because you had asked earlier, Elizabeth, I work with sound. That's another type of energy work. But eventually what I found was sexological body work and somatic work. And that was a little more grounded than Tantra. And so that was like more anatomy based and really understanding what happens and like understanding how trauma affects the body and the nervous system. And so that's how I started. And I started the show first. I started Wild and Sublime first, doing the show, doing the podcast, and then moved into intimacy coaching from there. Yeah.
Incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow, you're doing good work, Karen.
I know. I wish you could start something where you like just teach men, single men in Chicago specifically.
Yeah. Just workshops. Do charity work and just do it for free.
Yes, like a nonprofit, just like,
We'll fund it. I was
going to say all the single women in Chicago would fund it for just to have better experiences.
The Institute.
Yes.
We'll start an institute.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Do you find, I'm curious about like, when women come through, do you find a lot about like suppression and fear of sex, or do you feel like that's kind of shifted over the generations? I mean, like my mother told me nothing about sex.
Yeah. What do I find? I find trauma, right? There's people that have been sexually, traumatized at various points in their life. I see like a lot of, how can I put this? It's like a lot of beneath the surface, not knowing what they like.
That's
People don't know what they like because the script is so heavy. The script, it's like life hands you a script when you're an adolescent of like, this is the way it should be. And sometimes that script is like, dress provocatively or, acquiesce to your partner or whatever it is. But like what we actually want is a mystery because there hasn't been a lot of self exploration. There's still a lot of shame around masturbation. So people don't take, especially people of a certain era. I think people maybe 35 and under explore more with masturbation, but as you get older, those generations don't sit in bed all day with like oil and toys and like to see what do I like.
Yeah,
erotic exploration. So it's a little bit unknown, for people.
That makes sense to me too, actually. I don't know that anyone ever really said, Elizabeth, this is how masturbation works. But like I've bought Adrienne's kid a book about sex, and I bought my friend's kid a book. And I was remembering like looking at those books and being like, wow, they're just going to talk about it like that.
Oh my God. I will say, Karen, you tell me what you think about this. I will say that masturbation in our household happens at about 3:30. We live in a condo.
Like the whole family masturbates at 3:30. That's cool.
No, but like, maybe I'm getting ready to prepare dinner. I could be getting on a Zoom call. Who knows? But the child has come home from school and he goes into his room and there's like a door shut moment. And like at one point I did have a laugh with him. I was like, in my day, we waited for our parents to be not home, or there was the shower. Like there were, and he's just like, whatever. Like we've given like so much. Like this is natural. This is normal. Like in our house, there's no like cloak and dagger.
No, because most of the day,
is it cool? Is it fine?
Because
that's
most of the
cool.
day, most of the day he leaves the door open. So when he closes the door,
Yes.
that's how she knows.
That's I was wondering. I was like, okay,
Well,
what's the sign?
also, I'm a single parent, so like we're very like, like we're tight. We're like, I don't think we're not like big secret keepers. We talk about a lot, and I think a lot of that is just about the fact that it's like the two of us. So for him, I think it is very much like why I've told him he doesn't have to be ashamed, so he's not.
That's great. That's great.
And then I'm like,
I
don't know, I'm about to get on a Zoom call, like. But listen, if you think it's fine,
I think it's
great.
I think it is amazing.
Great, good.
Yeah. Yes.
I agree. I think it's good stuff. I mean, I had a situation where I accidentally opened my youngest kid's package.
Oh yes, this was great.
Yes, and I opened it.
Wait, package.
Like
it was
a
Amazon.
box.
It was
Okay,
an
a
Amazon
box.
delivery.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, they're in high school at the time, and I like open up this Amazon delivery, and there's a vibrator in it, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
She sparked a tear. She was so fucking proud.
I was like, oh my God, how do I completely panicked actually, because I was like, how do I say that
What'd you do?
my kid was in the basement watching television, and I went down and had the box, and I was like, I wasn't paying attention. I'm so sorry. It wasn't my intention to open your box. I respect your privacy. I love you, and congratulations. I'm really proud of you. I'm so proud. Like, I'm so happy that you made this decision.
You're taking the reins of your pleasure. You're taking the reins of your pleasure. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't say reins of pleasure, but I will remember that
Yes.
for the future.
Yes.
Oh my God, Karen, this has been so fun. I loved having you.
Amazing.
I had a ball.
Yes, this has been great. Okay, well, let's talk about last thoughts. We have last thoughts. And
This is where we do you have other music movie recommendations?
Well, I do want to talk about Paris is Burning.
Yes,
great.
I
It's
love
a great
that
call.
film.
I wish I would have thought of that.
This movie came out a year before Madonna's Truth or Dare, and the reason it gets brought up a lot with Truth or Dare is that the song Vogue.
Right. She's stealing it from the gays.
She's basically taking it from ball culture.
Yes.
And voguing and ball culture has had a resurgence. You can find it all over Instagram. But Paris is Burning is a lot about the Black and Hispanic gay culture of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
The poor culture. It's a hugely important movie, and it is fantastic.
Yes.
So it's a documentary. I really recommend it highly.
And occasionally it plays at the Music Box.
It does.
On
Yes.
the big screen. So
And I saw it.
I highly recommend that people do that.
Yeah.
Adrienne?
Oh, well, I'm just going to say, as the resident basic bitch of Don't Ruin This For Me, my favorite music movie is Katy Perry, A Piece of Me, because specifically, first of all, it's a great film, but specifically, she gets dumped by her husband, right before she's supposed to go on stage.
Russell Brand, right?
Yes,
She's
Russell
married to Russ
Brand.
Brand.
Wait.
Yeah.
I take it back about who I would choose. Russell Brand.
I bet he's a lot of fun. And with all your consent talk, you guys are having a great time.
God.
Well, Katy Perry got dumped by him right before she was supposed to go on for her big concert. And her makeup artist, they're trying to do her hair. She's sobbing, whatever. And then she puts on her candy cane tits and they start spinning and they put her on a thing and she rises up. She puts her smile on and she rises up. And, I've seen it multiple times.
Oh my God. I love it. I haven't seen it. Kim always refers to it too because she's always like, when I feel down, I think of her tits turning on.
She turns her tits on and then she rises up onto the stage,
Amazing.
a smile on her face.
Mine aren't actually that serious. Mine are very like spoofy. I would say Spinal Tap is a movie. I can watch that movie all the time. It's hilarious. It's a great mockumentary. And then there's a Canadian version of a similar thing called Anvil, the story of Anvil.
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, they're like a heavy metal band, and it's spoofy and hilarious. And oh my God,
This was a great episode.
show! I had
love
so
it.
much fun.
I love it.
All right, thanks for listening to Don't Ruin This For Me. Special thanks to the Lincoln Lodge and our producer Christine Ferreira and our graphic designer Jessica Savage, who is now in RV Life. Follow her on Savage Living.
I guess so. And thanks to Karen. Karen, where can our people find you? Do you have anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I'm going to promote my show, Wild and Sublime, at Wild and Sublime on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me if you're looking for sound healing or intimacy coaching at Karen-Yates.com.
And you guys should do it. Do it.
We did sound healing once.
We did. We loved it.
There was a lot of tears.
We cried a lot.
There was a lot of tears. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure everyone is looking for more Adrienne and Elizabeth, don't you think?
I do.
Don't you think?
I do.
They should check out our Substack newsletters, Where the Fuck's My Happy Ending by me and Mixed Race Tape by Elizabeth. And you can follow the pod on Instagram at Don't Ruin This Pod.
Come back next week for a movie we've been waiting to revisit for quite a while because it's all about the besties. Thelma and Louise, which means we get even more Brad Pitt, which again... should be the theme of the season.
He's only in there for like a second. And I got to say, I'm not sure that Brad Pitt, that young is my favorite Brad Pitt. But
what?
Yeah, we'll get into it next week. I am full of surprises. Everybody missed the moment where I talked about how Kevin Costner I'm really, really hot for because he's like a bland dude in khakis. What? No wonder I'm not having the sex I'd like to have, Karen. Anyway. Don't forget to support middle-aged women's voices by rating and reviewing Don't Ruin This For Me on your favorite podcast app.
We're out.
And that's it.